Um, Connecting to Allah, this is like the topic which always comes up very often. I think in terms of in Colchester, we started the events about connecting to Allah. But I find that um, very often it's a very useful point to start when I'm speaking to people and actually trying to figure out what they want from my lessons. Um, very quickly, when we have this conversation, some of you who study with me, you probably remember this conversation. But we have this thing: what do we actually want to achieve by learning the Quran, or reciting or praying Salah, or fasting in Ramadan? Like, what's it all about? What's the religion for? And before we even start like deciding what you want to study, I would suggest that most people actually have no idea, like by default, what they want to achieve. Are you feeling this? So very often we're not actually sure what we're hoping to achieve by having a lesson, or even sometimes praying, or even fasting. We've actually not thought about it that much. Yeah. So, but when we start thinking about it, I would suggest that very often the first thing that comes up is actually a connection to Allah. Well, this is gone. Okay, I'll have to reopen it. But anyway, so coming back to the PowerPoint, which is now working. The first thing which we kind of have to realize is that this whole connecting to Allah, it happens in the spiritual world. So it's slightly different from the physical world. So here, just in terms of terminology, we're just coming up with the idea that there is a spiritual world and a physical world. And I think every one of you that is here, a lot of you have studied with me. A lot of you have probably tried the courses or heard the stuff which I always bang on about. But what you'll notice is that whenever we have our lessons together, even if it's one-to-one, or you go on YouTube and you try one of the courses, you are to some extent getting in touch with your spirit. Whenever I speak to somebody, my primary objective usually becomes to connect to Allah. And very often, like if we think about why Allah sent the Prophet ﷺ into the world, if you want to answer that with one sentence, I think the only way you can really do that is to connect humans to Allah, to reconnect them with their Creator. And very often the main thing which we are meant to learn from Islam is actually our spirituality, our understanding of Allah. We live in the physical world, and the spiritual world which we have access to is very different from the spiritual world. And the rules aren't always the same. The rules work very differently. So for example, like we all believe as Muslims that Allah created the world, and He created you, and He created the world for a purpose, and He created you for a purpose.